From our studio here in Kokomlemle, Accra, this is Joe News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Coming up this hour, Chief Justice nominee Gertrude Torkornoo dismisses claims the Supreme Court of Ghana sometimes deliberately delivers partisan decisions to favor the president who appoints the judges. But her approval by Parliament's appointment committee may come down to a vote, as the minority in Parliament will not be able to conclude the process unless it has a copy of the recent Supreme Court decision on James Gyakye Quayson. Also in this bulletin, 4 persons pick nomination forms to contest the presidential race in the governing New Patriotic Party. As the nomination opens today, we'll bring you details as the party is promising a fair process while assuring its willingness to accept qualified, interested candidate. We'll also tell you the story of a homeless man who hustles to provide for his 8 relatives back home. Well, Parliament's appointment committee is sharply divided and likely to settle matters via a vote. This is on the issue of the approval of Justice Gertrude Torkornoo as Chief Justice. The minority side today took their concerns regarding the Supreme Court's decision on the James Gyakye Quayson directly to the nominee. Justice Torkornoo was part of a 7-member panel that unanimously ordered Parliament to expunge Mr. Quayson's name from its records. The court indicated that it will make its full judgment available on June 7. The minority side says it can only conclude the vetting if it questions her about this decision.
Our job here today will be focusing on evaluating her judgment or ruling from the time she went to the Supreme Court to today. We've been able to secure most of the rulings and the judgment from that she was able to participate on. So that is largely what we will be doing. Unfortunately, there is one of them that we are not able to get the reasoned ruling on the matter. That has to do with the recent case involving our colleague, the Honorable Quayson. We are of the view that we should be given opportunity to get a copy of the ruling so that we can be able to ask her questions based on her ruling. We are going to start the vetting, obviously, using the information that we have. But unfortunately, we cannot conclude on the matter until we have the ruling on the latest judgment for that she took part. So the chairman, I think, is pretty straightforward. As I said, she's not new to us. She's been around for some time, and we'll start the process of vetting. Thank you.
A member of appointment committee, Mahama Yarga, revealed the NDC side actually wanted to stay away from the vetting.
The minority side of this committee actually had reservations about participating in your vetting this morning because you participated in the decision involving Honorable James Quayson. You asked that his name be struck off the records of members of Parliament. But as a member of the panel and as a court, you did not give a reasoned judgment. So as we speak, we don't know the basis on which the court arrived at that conclusion. And there's uncertainty among us as members of Parliament, knowing that our Supreme Court is also our constitutional court that should guide us as a country in terms of how we run public affairs. We would have thought that on a matter in which we were so divided in terms of the two political parties, a matter that was litigated from the very day in which this parliament was sworn in, the night of the swearing in of this parliament, till the 17th of May, when you gave your ruling. It's a very divisive matter. We thought you would have carried all of us along by giving a reasoned judgment. Because when you give the judgment and you don't give the reasons, in between, people fill it with propaganda, speculation, and that just divides the country. Doesn't help us to move along together as one people. So we wanted the reasoning in that judgment to be able to really evaluate you, in addition to all the things that you have given us. But we've reached a negotiated position with our colleagues in which we've been assured that we will not vote on you today after this hearing, and that when we finish today, when the Supreme Court gives the reason, we will have another opportunity to now assess you on the basis of the quality of the reasoning of the court, and then we can take a decision. On that basis, I have no question for you today. I would wait for that day when we have the opportunity, and I will focus my questions on the reasoning that you will give in that matter.
Now, we'll come back to the position of the minority shortly, but first, my colleague James Aveji, who has been in Parliament monitoring the proceeding all day, has joined me in the studio for more. Now, let's look at the other issues that came up during the vetting. First is the concern raised about the abuse of power of contempt by the Supreme Court. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so that question was a premise on the recent Supreme Court sermon of Dr. Pesa White on his comment over the Supreme Court's decision on the Jachi question matter. And so it brought up that question. Now, the Chief Justice believes that when you look at our court system, the Supreme Court is the apex court of the land. And so it has that duty in order to protect the integrity of the justice system. And so when issues come, when judgments come, it is rather expected that the public, political figures, as well as even lawyers, they are free to criticize the Supreme Court judges, but they need to do this with some form of measure. They need to be circumspect about that so that we do not lose the value of the Supreme Court. And so that was her position on that. And then the chairman of the committee, the first deputy speaker, Joseph Osei-Wusu, brought up the issue about the contempt of Parliament, because Parliament also has that same position. The concern is that the continuous summoning of people to the Supreme Court and in some few cases other levels of court of the land looks like an abuse of the power. And so when the Constitution provides same powers to Parliament, Parliament within its own rules and regulations in the standing orders have put out how that cases of contempt are supposed to be dealt with. But on what constitutes contempt of court at the part of the judiciary, we are told that when you commit an action in the presence of the court, that the court feels that it is a contempt, the court itself can't summon you. But when you do same outside the court, then the provision of the law is that a third party need to bring that to the attention of the court. And so the continuous process whereby the court itself summons people on matters that they feel is a contempt of court is a matter of worry. And so has advised the Honorable Chief Justice to take up the matter if there will be the need to review some part of the Constitution that talks about the contempt of court and bring some guidelines to how those matters are determined when it comes up. And so that's all what brought about the issue, the recent criticism of the Supreme Court. So she thinks that the court needed to be protected, especially the Supreme Court, so that we do not go beyond the boundaries to bring the image of the court into this.
Another issue that came up was what people term as the collapsing confidence in the judiciary. What was the response of the nominee?
She was not too worried about that because she believes that it is actually an ignorance of some people that brings up such discussions, with the reason that she thinks that she calls them judicial predators. This she describes as people who go to clients and demand bribes on behalf of judges in certain cases. Now, she believes that if we sample such persons, 9 out of 10 of such persons are not sent by judges, or whatever they take from the client do not end up going to the said judges whose name they use to demand those bribes. And so it is not really the case that there is corruption and bribery in the judiciary, and this is winning down confidence. And so to resolve this, she thinks that there needed to be some level of public education and society engagement in order to explain the position of the court to them and how these things play out so that we can restore that. So that's not a worry at all. She thinks that it's a perception that we all hold, and to deal with that perception, more education will take care of that.
Okay, interesting. Now let's come back to the minorities' position. How was the issue finally resolved?
So after the proceedings in public, the entire appointment committee went into another closed-door meeting between the two parties. And then when they came out, we caught up with the chairman of the committee, Joseph Osei-Owusu, and he indicates that the two sides have not come to a consensus on the demand of the minority. They are of the view that since the entire judgment will be released by the Supreme Court on the 7th of June, it will just be appropriate that the minority will wait for that judgment and read what is in it. But if they insist that they will not actually come to the table in voting for the nominee, the majority will actually go ahead to take the decision to approve her on majority decision.
And take it to the plenary.
Which will end up at the plenary for voting to be done on her appointment. We can listen to Joseph Osei-Owusu make the point in an interview.
Why we should defer the decision as the position, and therefore they say they will not support her. That's okay, we support her. So the report will say she's recommended by a majority decision.
Okay, but would you say that the position of the minority is sound in law or not sound in law?
I will not make any judgment on their position. I say I cannot justify deferring a decision based on that position. Whether that's sound or law or not is up to them. But I think that I'm governed by the standing orders. The standing orders does not give me room to defer decision because somebody wants to read a judgment which has not been delivered.
So for the records, you are unlikely to call a second meeting for purposes of vetting the nominee. Is that what it is?
There's no basis. There's absolutely no basis for recalling her. There's no issue that was not resolved. There was no question that she did not answer. In fact, for those who paid attention, the minority leader was the last person to ask questions on the part of the minority. And she asked questions relating to this same judgment. She gave her the opportunity. She explained how they draw conclusions and how the decisions that are taken is a decision of the group, and that some different people may write some aspects of the judgment and then they put them together. That's why it's called decision of the court.
Now to some political stories, and 4 persons have so far officially picked nomination forms to contest the upcoming presidential elections in the governing New Patriotic Party as the party continues its reorganization process toward retaining power in the 2024 general elections. The NPP opened nominations today and expected to close it on 24th June with candidate paying 50,000 cedis for the forms. My colleague Samuel Kojo from our political desk was at the party's headquarters and reports.
The 4 interested candidates who have picked the forms are former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko, former General Secretary of NPP Kobina Ejapong, former MP for Mampong, and a one-time contestant Francis Adainimo, with Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apreku staging a return after 2 failed previous attempts. The forms were picked on their behalf by the campaign teams. The camp of former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko were the first to pick the forms. His spokesperson, Dr. Benjamin Ashite, said they are ready for the contest and don't intend backing down.
He is the person who has been the engine of public policy in the NPP. I keep reiterating that. You understand? He is the only person who knows what the ordinary Ghanaian wants, to be a free Ghanaian. And we've given the nod. I believe that proper public policies will be initiated and developed. Honorable Boakye Agyarko is a man of his words, is a man of higher integrity. And I'm telling you that when he sets his mind to do something, until it is done, he's not pulling out.
Even though there was a delegation from the campaign team of former General Secretary of the NPP, Kobina Ejapong, they declined media interviews. But leader of Friends of Adainimo expressed confidence in his candidature and believe he is the right person to lead the party, a reason they are strongly supporting him. George Obeng Entry speaks for the group.
Who is respected across the country, a person who is blameless, with great wisdom and understanding to lead the party into the next general election. Honorable Adainimo, people tend to have faith and trust in him. They see him to be very credible. We do with people all over the country, and that is what we get. So we believe that if the party will go for Honorable Adainimo, the party can be assured of victory in 2024 general election.
Regardless of his 2 failed previous attempts, the campaign team of Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apreku still holds the conviction he is the right person to lead the party because of his experience. Kwame Obring-Kansa is his communications director.
Kofi Konadu-Apreku, to start with the party faithfuls, he knows the party in and out. He was there when this party was formed. He was part of the people who drafted the manifesto of this party. As our grassroots people are disgruntled, of which they have no hope, Dr. Apreku says, look at me. Without me, there's no hope for you, because I've been there and I know when we were mobilizing people in the Central Market, Makola Market, everywhere, people were contributing. They were genuinely contributing to the Patriotic Party, because they know that it's this party that can salvage this country out of our economic woes. So that is what Apreku brings on the table. He knows the party inside out. He started it all, and he knows it all.
Meanwhile, National Chairman of the NPP, Stephen Intim, says the contest is opened to any qualified party member while assuring a transparent process of the elections.
We are expecting interested party people to come and express interest in filing to contest. Forms are available. They will be told how much, in fact they know how much to pay upon returning the completed forms. And then the process will be rolled out. So there is nothing to stop us. We have started. We are not turning back. That is all. We expect a free and fair elections. Until now, we were hearing unofficially up to about 9 different interested people. But you said 4 people have shown up. You said 4?
Yeah,
yes. So I haven't met any of them. So I don't know. Some may pick but may not even return the forms. And we are waiting for the others who have expressed interest in one way or the other. Not in written form, but we've seen them posturing around. So we expect that others will come. There are rules and regulations, guidelines governing these things. We expect that people will go by those rules and regulations and follow the guidelines. And nobody will be turned back if you want to come and pick forms, if you want to contest. Unless upon vetting something untoward comes out, then people will be disqualified.
Picking of nomination forms by interested candidates continues next week. Samuel Kojo, Joy News.
Still on the NPP, aggrieved polling station executives of the New Patriotic Party in the German South constituency in the Bono region say if the party fails to reclaim the lost seat, the national executive should be blamed. They accuse them of turning a blind eye to their concerns of constituency executives, deliberately denying them the chance to verify the details in the register as directed by the national party. Precious Semovo has more.
The aggrieved German South polling station executives of the NPP converged in front of the party office in Drobo after a protest march to drum home their concerns. They said unresolved issues continue to deepen the disunity that led to the party losing the parliamentary seat to the NDC in the 2020 elections. The group alleges that the constituency executives have deliberately refused to carry out a directive by the party for a verification exercise for members to ascertain their details in the constituency register with about 2 days to end the national exercise. Ernest Ejapon speaks for the group.
When you come to German South, there is a problem in the party. The party is divided. There was no electoral area coordinator elections, no polling station elections held in German South. Neither did we hold the constituency elections. But still we have some people who call themselves as constituency executives, and they are running the day-to-day activities of the party. This exercise is being conducted in all parts of Ghana. People go and verify their names so that you can make corrections, you can make changes. But when you come to German South, it is not done here. We have not seen where this verification exercise is done. This is the party office. It is closed. When you come here, you don't meet anybody. You call the chairman, he says, you are not supposed to enter. And then when you ask him where there is that exercise going so that you can just go and verify, he will tell you that it is not for public consumption.
He said they want the leaders to act, but after several petitions to both the regional and national executives of the party yielded no response. If they are unable to break the 8 and recapture the lost seat, they cannot be blamed.
We have complained to them over and over and over. Nobody is answering. Nobody is showing any concern. For national executives, we've written petitions to them. We've written more than 5 petitions. Kodia, who is the General Secretary, has acknowledged that we want them to take action, but they are not taking any action. Actually, we want to tell them that there's a problem in the party. If we are unable to break the 8, they shouldn't point their fingers on anybody because we have done our part. That's what we want to communicate to the national executives. We are not forcing them because it's long overdue. They should have come here long ago. But it seems somebody is deceiving them over there. So they can decide to come or not to come. It is their own cup of tea. It is the party's interest first.
Precious Semovo, Joy News, Drobo.
To the NDC now, and Member of Parliament for the Jirapa constituency, Kletos Seidu Dapila, has admonished supporters of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, to see the election of John Dramani Mahama in the 2024 general election as their main target than quarreling among themselves. He said the NPP may have performed abysmal in the governance of the country, but that does not mean that they hand over power on a silver platter to the NDC. He observed the only thing that guarantees victory for the NDC is unity and hard work. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has the rest of the story.
Incumbent Member of Parliament for Jiruba, Kletos Seidu Dapila, right from the start, was the front runner in the recently held National Democratic Congress NDC Jiruba parliamentary primary, and he did not disappoint the election researchers. He romped into a landslide victory, polling 957 votes against Bryce Alier and Jennifer Tengnaba Namfuri. They both had a combined votes of 221.
I can testify, and the people can testify, that I've been working so well with them. I'm a politician that is so open to them. They know I always want to solve their problems. I'm a problem solver, and that is what the people admire about me. So I wasn't surprised about the results. Expected to even hit 1,000 mark That was my focus. But there were some mishaps that happened close to the elections, and my contenders made the votes that they made. But I'm so happy about the results, and I thank the delegates for the confidence that they repose in me, and I will not disappoint them.
The parliamentary primaries are over now, and he is back to work again and bent on improving the well-being of his constituents.
Well, I'm looking at education, I'm looking at health, I'm looking at support for students, agriculture, how to lobby for us to have decent road network. Those are the areas that I'm looking at. And then water and sanitation. I'm going to focus on support for students, education. I'm going to look at support for agriculture. The farming season is at hand. So I'm looking at how to secure farm inputs, fertilizer and stuff to support some of the farmers so that they can improve their yield.
Turning to the 2024 general election, Cletus Sedudepla noted that the NDC has a better chance of being returned to power. He urged supporters of the NDC not to rest on their oars, thinking that they will get power on a silver platter because of the mismanagement of the country's economy by the NPP.
First and foremost, we need to fight these people on a united front. We have to be united. Primaries are over, presidential, parliamentary primaries are all over. There is no need to be fighting President Mahama. President Mahama just wants to be president. The other positions are all for us. So let's make him the president. He just wants one thing, and that is the presidency. Somebody will be vice president. Some people will be ministers. Some people will be chief executives. Some people will be cleaners. Some people will get scholarships to go and study. So the positions are numerous. But we cannot get these positions if we don't make President Mahama the president of Ghana. And let me also add that don't fight Cletus because Cletus is the MP. I also just want to be MP. If I'm MP, I can be DCE. I can be NADMO coordinator. I can be, a health insurance manager. I will just be an MP. The rest of the positions are for the people. So why will you fight Cletus because I want to be an MP? I will all come together and contribute our quota to the development of the municipality and Ghana. So there's no need fighting. So I urge everybody, if you truly love NDC, if you truly love President Mahama, don't fight your colleague. The focus is President Mahama. The focus is not the person that has hurt you. Don't be looking at the person. Even if it's Cletus that has hurt you, please forgive Cletus. Let's work for the party to win.
The Jiriba legislature was, however, not happy about the strategies employed by the NDC in the recently held Kumeuba election won by the NPP. He punched holes on the social media campaign strategy of the NDC, which he attributed led to their defeat.
You've gone into the NPP stronghold to win souls. So whatever you are doing, your strategy should not even be known in the social media. But surprisingly, all the big men and so-called party people who went to Kumawu, all of them, all that they were doing, it was in social media. And that is not how to win elections. NPP, you can't fight NPP one-on-one and win. You take them by surprise. You take them by surprise. If you go to contest elections in Kumawu, and all you are doing is that your strategy is out there in social media, they will simply counter it. They are in power. They have the resources to counter it. So I think that there are some of the places I go in and operate without my opponents even knowing. I won't put it on social media.
Reporting for Dwayne News, Rafik Salam, Jiriba.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Brian Achampon, has hinted at plans to cut food product from the farm gate to market. He said this after visiting some farmers in Agogo, in the Ashanti region. The minister's assurance came after experiencing at first hand the level of post-harvest losses of farm produce, especially tomatoes, forcing the produce to be sold for far less than what they should have been sold for.
So, are you sure all these cartons of tomato are selling at 400 cedis?
Yes, it is the same price across the entire community here.
Then we must find a way of cutting these tomatoes to the city at relatively low cost so the price of the commodity does not inflate.
Well, some traders here at the Agbogboshi market in the national capital, Accra, have been explaining that the high cost of foodstuff is due to shortage of commodities. My colleague Prince Owusu-Ansah has been speaking to them.
When we buy the foodstuff from Burkina Faso, we have to add other expenses which influence the food items. Transport fares are still high, but if drivers reduce transport fares, the price of foodstuffs will reduce. And also, some roads leading to food-growing communities are not accessible.
Road expenses,
the price of foodstuffs are high because of the additional cost we add to the price when we travel to Burkina Faso for the goods.
5,000. Over 3,000.
Now, the commemoration of this year's Menstrual Hygiene Day has ended in Accra with a call on the government to prioritize steps aimed at ending period poverty in the country. Stakeholders believe using multi-dimensional approaches, including immediate removal of the 20% tax on all sanitary parts, would help keep millions of girls in school. My colleague Carlos Caloni has more in the following report.
Lots of girls my age do not have toilets in their schools.
Held under the theme "We Are Committed," the 2023 Menstrual Hygiene Day commemoration brought together stakeholders in education, health, non-governmental organizations, development partners, students, as well as menstrual hygiene management ambassadors. The event, which had a panel discussion, also witnessed donation of menstrual hygiene products to participants. In his welcome address, the Deputy Director of Ghana Education Service in charge of access and quality, Dr. Kobina Bempa asserted the GES commitment towards providing gender-friendly structures at every school to help improve MHM in the country.
Adolescent girls feel excluded, especially from education, social activity, and work while they are menstruating. We will continue to work on maintaining and improving our school environments so that schools have clean, gender and disability-friendly toilets with changing rooms where necessary to support girls' menstruation.
While speakers took turns to stress on the need for immediate action on ending period poverty in the country, the Executive Director of CONEWAS, Basilia Nanbingni, urged policymakers to carve multi-dimensional approaches to fast-track the attainment of MHM.
A holistic approach requiring collaborative and multidimensional response is needed to achieve our goal, especially issues related to the 20% tax, making menstrual hygiene products very affordable.
Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines, a senior water supply and sanitation specialist at the World Bank, Engineer Harold Eseku, said a strong link exists between effective menstrual hygiene management and class attendance rate of the girl child.
Anecdotal evidence shows that
there is an increase in attendance of the girls. But our aim in providing this facility is not just focused on providing the toilets, but ensuring that the children stay in school longer, and it has a long-term impact on the future of the nation.
A menstrual hygiene and management ambassador who doubles as the convener, Alliance for Women in Media Africa, Shamima Muslim, urged the media to scale up discussions on the issue to shape up a targeted removal of the 20% tax.
We do advocacy when we want to see results, so please join the advocacy through creative programming that will highlight the precarious situation and especially demand the removal of the taxes. It is possible for government to do that and find a workable way. A certain level of targeting is required. So it's not like you do a blanket removal of taxes. It should be a program. If importers want to come onto the program, they benefit from the program upon the express agreement that whatever they bring into the country would go to specific schools.
A child sanitation diplomat, Mami Ekia Ohenewa Jima, also urged the government to act with dispatch on MHM.
Government builds the schools, so they should ensure that the schools have access to toilets, changing rooms, and everything, because we want everybody to feel safe in school, to feel happy, and look forward to coming to school.
From the 2023 Menstrual Hygiene Day celebration here in Accra, my name is Carlos Scaloni for Joy News.
Now, she was sexually harassed by a reverend father who is her superior at work. She wanted him punished, but later withdrew the case from court. That is the story of an administrator in the Western North region, narrated by the Regional Strategy Director, Eric Kumi Nta, at a stakeholder consultation workshop on the development of a new National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights. Member of the Steering Committee of the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights, Victor Brobe, says the NAP, when activated, is expected to, among other names and others, name and shame institutions that abuse the right of individuals through a ranking system. My colleague Maxwell Agbaba has more from the workshop in the Western region.
When perpetrators are punished, that will serve as a deterrent to others.
The Western North Regional Director of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Eric Kumi Nta, sharing some of the cases his office has been dealing with and how the new National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights will help address the problem.
It's a case that came to our office, and it's involved one of these hospitals. The Reverend Father, who is the director, sexually harassed an administrator, and the case came to our outfit. And what I said was that we were on the case where, in fact, the matter went to court but later on the complainant came and withdrew his case. And so we had no strength to, as it were, battle the case again, because we were going to lack evidence. We've had complaints about sexual harassment, and it's not one or two, but we've gone into it. And the most painful thing is that the most painful thing is that when it gets to a point where the perpetrators has to face the law, then the complainants will come and withdraw their case. But when that happens, you are stuck, because you by all means or definitely need an evidence in court.
The National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights, when activated, would deal with a wide range of business-related abuses like poor remuneration, shoddy work by contractors, abuse of employees by employers, and different forms of human rights abuse in businesses in Ghana. But the issue of sexual harassment in businesses continues to remain topical at the consultation workshops to gather views that will help in the development of the National Action Plan. Lead member of the drafting of the Action Plan and member of the Steering Committee, Victor Brobe, says aside from the issue of sexual harassment, there are multiple issues that affect women in the workplace.
Definitely there will have to be language in the plan in which we'll charge certain regulators and certain policymakers with improving the sexual harassment conditions in Ghana. This might include clarifying rules relating to sexual harassment, and it may also even include just taking steps to improve gender-based workplace discrimination, broadly speaking. Because even beyond sexual harassment, there were issues that arose in respect of promotions. There were issues that arose in respect of the pay gap, women just getting paid less than men. So there are sort of multiple issues that exist when it comes to women in the workplace that we need to pay attention to, and that this process will hopefully help address.
He says when activated, the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights is expected to name and shame businesses engaged in or abuse rights through a ranking system.
We are going to create a business and human rights rating system. In other words, SHRAJ, in conjunction with other stakeholders, are going to rank companies on their compliance levels with business and human rights norms. So to the extent to which you undertake human rights due diligence policies, the extent to which you have human rights policies in place, the extent to which you are good human rights citizens. And of course, these rankings will be published and would serve as a guide to the general public that wants to interact and be consumers of these companies.
Chairperson of the steering committee, Dr. Sylvia Adusu, says the NAP, when activated, will enhance the protection of rights.
So, there's a lot of recommendations have come out on what we should do about it. And I think they are very important recommendations. One of them is that the chieftaincy institution should be empowered to be able to help against these human rights abuses. The action plan, we are supposed to finish by July. Okay. And then when we finish, we will launch it. And after launching it, I think the next thing will be implementation. And SHRAJ will be a major player in the implementation, as well as other bodies that we have identified in the NAP at the moment. Attorney General's office is also a key stakeholder.
The consultation workshops are taking place nationwide.
Now, in the face of staggering unemployment figures and economic hardship, Samson Boateng, a 27-year-old man, has become one of many individuals forced to call the street of Accra home. Working as a porter at a VIP bus station, Boateng hustles to provide for his 8 relatives back in his hometown. His story sheds light on the harsh realities faced by those grappling with homelessness in the capital. My colleague Prince Owusu-Ansah has more in this report.
Last 3 weeks, my sister was admitted at Kuala Lumpur. They operate my sister.
Samson Boateng, a 27-year-old man, works as a porter at a VIP bus station in Accra, hustling to support his 8 relatives back home.
I lost my father, and my father was the one who was doing everything for me. Right now, my mother is not working, so I have to come to street and work so that I can get something. I have 8 siblings.
According to Ghana Statistical Service, the country has approximately 1.76 million unemployed individuals. Seeking better opportunities, Samson Boateng moved to Accra and found himself with no option but to consider the unforgiving street as his home.
And we are working inside VIP here, and it is not allowed for us to sleep there. And we don't have the money. I don't have the money to go and rent house at Accra here. That is the reason why I'm staying on the streets.
Samson Boateng expresses his unhappiness about this situation.
So we are facing a lot of challenges over here. Here is not safe for us. But for now, we don't have anywhere. We don't have any place to stay. That's the reason why we are still on the streets.
He relies solely on small tokens given by passengers for carrying their luggage to provide for his relatives.
We work as loading boys. If the buses arrive, we will go there, beg the passengers, carry their things, so that we will escort them to the station they are going, and at the end that road, they will find us maybe 2 cedis, 3 cedis, then we will put together.
Joshua Date, who shares a similar story, also expresses his desire to leave the streets. However, due to economic hardships, he cannot afford to pay rent.
I'm not happy at all. I'm not happy at all. I'm not happy. Oh yeah, I'm trying. And you know that in this system we are in hardship. Yes, in terms of the economics and this crisis we are in.
Due to their difficult circumstances, individuals seeking government office often exploit them. They use them for their campaigns, making promises to help them escape homelessness. But they renege on their promise after the election.
So sometimes if you stay here, they will come. You know, next year we are entering into election. They will come and pick us, gather us, and take us to do campaign. After that, they will tell you that after election, no campaign, you won't see them again.
Samson Boateng and Joshua Date, like many homeless individuals, are compelled to move to the street to support their families due to economic challenges. Without this, they would be at risk of going hungry. A report by Prince Owusu Ansah, read to you.
Well, let's do showbiz now. And Burna Boy's Ye is a big tune that set many heads bopping. And after we wrap up the bulletin, but just before we take a leave of you, remember to brush your teeth before you go to bed this evening and tomorrow morning when you wake up from bed with either Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Pepsodent Charcoal, Pepsodent Herbal, or Pepsodent Triple Protection. Because with Pepsodent, every smile matters. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Good evening for being with us. There's Prime Business coming up next with Pius Kojo Baka.